Okay, while the rest of the clock is in the cleaning machine, you might be able to hear it running in the background, I'm not really sure. We're going to go ahead and look at the barrels. While I was kind of doing a look through on them earlier, I noticed some issues, so I'm not going to worry with running these through the cleaner. There is a pretty significant amount of wear in the bushing on the barrel. At this point, you've got a couple options. The cap side is not as bad. We do have a good bit of wear in the bushing here. The problem that's going to give us is our teeth are not going to be able to line up. Probably the depthing is going to be incorrect. They're either going to be too close together or too far apart to adequately transfer power through the clock. So you'd be left with two options at this point. You could either pull this barrel apart and rebush it, or you can also just replace this barrel and spring. What will probably answer that question for us is here in a second. I will I'll open up this barrel, get the spring out, and we'll take a look and see what the spring looks like. If the spring is no good, it will be much more cost effective for us to take and replace the entire piece as a unit rather than having to buy the spring, having to buy the barrel. It'll usually end up being more expensive by the time we bush it and replace any of the parts like the spring. We're also running into the same issue. You can see the cap on this one is worn, and barrel side, it's got way too much wear there. So this one as well, for the top of the hour, we have the same issue. So these barrels have been there a long time. This will happen when given enough time, it'll happen. But in general, this happens quicker when the clock's been run with old oil or grease. It really starts to turn into more of an abrasive than a lubricant, and it starts to, this arbor is steel, the barrels are brass, so this being a harder metal over time is going to wear on the brass anyway, and then having the old oil in there, it acts as an abrasive, is going to accelerate wear inside the clock. So I'm going to grab a rubber mallet, and I'm going to use that rubber or rawhide. I'll probably use a rawhide in this case. I'm going to tap on the barrel arbor until the cap comes off. I don't want to pry on this. You're going to warp the cap most likely, and you could also cause some chipping on that. So I'm going to grab our rawhide mallet, and we're going to get this barrel open, and we're going to take a look at the springs inside. Okay, so I got our mallet. You can see this one been packed full of old grease. At the very least, this one needs to come out of the barrel and be cleaned. What we're going to look for when we get this out is we want to see how closely set these coils are. Over time, these mainsprings start to relax in the barrel, kind of get used to being coiled up into that tight shape. So let's get the spring out and evaluate it. Today I'm going to be using an Ollie Baker style spring winder. It comes with all kinds of sleeves of different sizes. We want to take the largest one that we can fit inside the barrel. To remove the spring. So it looks like this one is our winner here. So I'm going to get the spring winder set up real quick, and we'll go through the process of removing the spring from the barrel. Okay, I have my spring winder mounted to the board because I kind of travel around to different locations and will work in multiple ways. So it's easier for me to have it on a large board that I can then clamp down to a bench instead of having it mounted directly to a bench. If you're going to be working in one location, I do suggest mounting it in a single location. We want to take the appropriate key winder, which mine's a little old and rusty, need to clean it up. But at this point, this is a size 8 that the arbor will take for this. So we're going to get this loaded into the machine. I'll make sure it's good and tight, so I'll give it a little bit of tap. Don't want that coming loose on us. I'll take one of our barrel arbors. We're going to get it locked into place. I'm going to slide my sleeve into place. I'll try to do another video a little bit more in depth over this particular style spring winder. I'll lock it into place. Okay, so usually when you're using this machine, you take and wrap a pipe clamp around that hose clamp in order to save a little time. What I'm going to do, this is a small enough spring, I'm just going to hold the barrel with a rag in my hand, or you could put a glove on. In this case, I'm going to make sure we're turning in the appropriate direction. I'm going to line the spring up enough to slide this in. I'll reverse my direction. And now the spring is captured inside this. As another reminder, you always want to be wearing eye protection when you're working with the spring winder. At this point, I said we can see that the spring is actually captured in this. So we should be able to take slight rotation backwards. And now we're able to remove the spring from the barrel. There's a couple things we want to look at with this spring when we go to remove it. We can actually see a little bit of cracking here where it pulls against the hook inside the barrel. So we are going to want to replace this spring. When you're sliding the sleeve on inside the barrel, make sure to give yourself plenty. You want as much of a tail. You want to take and spin it as far down to give yourself as much of a tail. Because what you want when you go back into the winder is to make sure you've got plenty of room to be able to hook it. So let's go ahead and get that secured back up. Put just enough wind for us to be able to slide that off. We're going to reverse our direction again. And we're slowly going to release the spring. And that is the proper way to remove the spring from the barrel without damaging it. You pull them out of the barrel, you're likely going to end up with it all warped like this. But as you can see, it still look pretty good. Now, this spring is very set. So it's gotten very relaxed inside that barrel. Ideally, you're going to have a large amount of space inside. That's another video we can address at a future point, is what a new spring should look like versus an old one.